Go around the badger.
Hey everybody, it is the Angry Honey Badger here, and it is time again for a build. We'll be taking a look at Nocturne this time in the preseason to Season 6. Like I said, I like where junglers are at currently. I think they're a lot stronger than people realize. We talked about this in the last build a little bit, and we're going to keep that going with Nocturne today. So we're going to talk about his runes and masteries, obviously. A little bit about his abilities and which order you'll max them out, and we'll talk about the build path and the directions in which you can take the build path. Because there's something I need to cover in this build, which I think I did a little bit in the last one, but in case you missed it, we'll get it taken care of. There's an important difference between the jungle items right now, based on game durations and all types of stuff. So we're going to talk about all those things. Let's kick things off, though, with runes and masteries. Runes, straightforward. We're going to go with attack damage marks. We're going to go with armor seals. We're going to go with magic resist glyphs. We go with flat ones typically. You can do scaling too, or a mix and match situation if you want. And then when it comes to the quints, movement speed's okay, and attack damage is good. So those are your two main options. Now when it comes to your Masteries page, here's a picture of the one I like to take. There it is. Jot it down, pause it, and take a closer look, or check out the Mastery page video that I have down below in the description. It's going to set you up with all the masteries that you need for this season. So you can check that out and get everything taken care of all at once. But when it comes to his abilities, we can go ahead and start things off with his Q ability, which you put a point into at level 1. So as you know, this is your Dustbringer. You just kind of throw this out in front of you, and it will hit a target, it will deal damage to them, and then the line behind it you can follow, and that will speed you up when you are on that path. So make sure you connect with the target, they'll keep dragging it out, and you can speed yourself up to them. It's very, very good. We're also going to be maxing this out first. We'll put a point to it at level 1. Then at level 2, we're going to put a point, obviously, into your Shroud of Darkness. Now, the reason you put a point into this, I know as much as you can't really use this in the jungle to block things, you can use it to get increased attack speed, which helps you clear camps better early, and you really don't need your fear at that point in the game. So that is why we're going to put a point into it at level 2. Very important to do that. So we're going to do that. We're going to max that out last as well. And then for your Unspeakable Horror, this is your fear. Put a point to it at level 3 because then you'll have all your abilities ready to go, and you can use this if you want to gank as well early on. But, you know, if you do keep it on them for the 2 seconds, you will then fear the target. The duration on this will increase as you put more points in this. This is why we do max this out second. And that's what we do with our Unspeakable Horror. And then obviously you have your ultimate Paranoia, which reduces the vision of the enemy team, and it will do this for 4 seconds. And then you can cast it. You'll get the increase in range on this each time you put a point into your ultimate. Obviously, you'll fly in. It's really good to get to the back line, get to high priority targets, and it's really good for ganking. We're going to use it here onto Zed. We're going to slow him down. We're going to hit him with our Dustbringer. And then J4 is going to come in for the quick dunk. Little tag team action to get the Zed taken care of after he killed Brand in the mid lane, who was Black Anola this game. Fun fact. Yeah, so we're going to continue onward with that. So those are our abilities. Pretty straightforward stuff. So order maxing is Q, E, W, and then obviously your ultimate. You know that one. But let's talk about the items. So at the beginning of this match, this is the important part we want to talk about and the changes that items have and the impact they have right now on the game. So we have our Hunter's Machete right off at the beginning. You know, that makes perfect sense. We're going to start with that. Pretty straightforward. So besides that, you have 2 options. You can build it into Blue Smite, or you can build it into Skirmisher Saber. They're both good in different ways. Obviously, you get the damage reduction from the Red Smite. Blue Smite, you get the slow, and they both deal damage, but in different ways. Both are good in different ways. I took Blue this game. You can take Red some. It really just depends on how you think the game's going to go and what you're more comfortable with. I think they're very valuable in different ways. So that's the first little bit. Now, beyond that point, I like to build Nocturne with Devourer. The reason for this is he's a good jungle clearer, he's also a good split pusher, and with that much attack speed, he can become a good split pusher as the game goes on. I also am pretty good at typically stacking my Devourer. I don't know if I do it that well this game, though. I guess I'll keep an eye on it. But a fast stack is anywhere from, obviously, 18 to 21 minutes. That's a good stack time. Typically, I usually get mine stacked by about the 19, 20-ish minute marks for most of the times. And when you're doing that, you're controlling the dragon. Dragon's worth 5 stacks. If you can control dragon, you're going to be getting a lot of stacks. And it's a very important thing to do in the current meta. The other option that you have, obviously, is going Warrior Enchantment and going for the straight damage. The straight damage is really good, and it's a better early power spike than Devour is 100% of the time. Just because you have damage immediately, it's a good item. There's nothing around it. Warrior's incredibly strong. So if you want to do that, it's technically safer. It's going to free you up for more ganking. It's going to help you roam more, which will help you put down more wards, typically, and you'll have better presence for your team. Now, with the way that the games have been going in the preseason, with matches being shorter, with teams having more explosive leads, even with the most recent patch, games just seem slightly quicker. It's just how it's going to be. And the problem with the Devourer is if a game is going to be fast-paced, you don't have time to stack something. By the time you become relevant or finish stacking or finally get out of the jungle, your team's probably already lost their lanes, or they've won the game already before you've stacked, or around that point. But if your team is behind, your lanes have been lost, you've probably actually had too much invading happening in on your jungle, meaning you haven't been getting more camps, meaning you aren't able to actually stack in a quick way. So it's a very, very risky build path to build Devourer on any champion right now. Any champion. If you are going to build Devourer on any champion right now, whether it's Nocturne, Yi, or anybody else, there's two main things you definitely need to do, and we mentioned one of them. It's get the dragons. Keep control of dragon, gank mid lane or gank bot lane, get the advantage, and get one of the lanes to help take the dragon. The dragon stacks are going to get you there way faster, and it'll make it pay off as a better item as you get the stacks. The other thing to do, too, is really keep control of Scuttle. Scuttle also gives you increased stacks faster than anything else in the jungle, so make sure you get those. If you fall behind on Scuttle control, ward the river and make sure you can find that. As a jungler who does get Scuttler continuously on both sides, you're usually going to beat out the enemy jungler in that vision game, and they're going to usually never know exactly when the timers are going to be up for Scuttle because they'll never have the vision of it when it's up. They don't know the duration. So it's very important to know when Scuttle's up. So that's the fast way to stack. Yeah, we're stacking a little slow this game. Right now I'm at 26 stacks at 24 minutes. Yeah, that's a little slow. I think right there will get me up to 28 and then 2 more camps. So we're close, but we're really 24 minutes is a little slow. I'd like to be about 3 minutes faster. So we're fully stacked now at 24:30-ish. So 24:20. That's a little bit slow. That's about 2 minutes slower than I'd ever want to be personally. But I died a couple times early. They went really hard for me a couple times in the jungle. But, you know, kept our head down. We kept farming. We got ganks off when we could. We got a few more deaths, but we got plenty of assists to help the team. So if you want to play safe, you go Warrior. If the games start to get longer again, then you can go ahead and do Devour. But it is a way more of a gamble to do Devour. You have to really pray that your lanes hold up. If they don't, you, besides yourself, not technically feeding or falling behind, you will fall behind when they do lose their lanes because you won't be able to safely jungle or stack and the game will end. So if they lose, you actually lose too. So just a heads up. Be aware. Now, outside of this, after we finish that off, we have 2 boot options. It's always Merc Treads or Ninja Tabi. Just straight up. That's just how it is. And with the way the meta is, I'm finding myself building Ninja Tabi a lot because a lot of ADC damage, a lot of attack damage-based assassins are also up, so Ninja Tabi very, very helpful. Nocturne can solo out champions fairly easily too. We get the we didn't even get the Fear off. She flashed, but we have our ult to follow up. Don't overuse your ult if you don't need to. You can always use it as a finisher. But it's obviously fantastic for engage. So use it on an engagement if your team really does need the engage, but use it on cleaning up too. But after we do finish that off, we do go for a Blade of the Ruined King. Finishing or getting a Devour with Blade of the Ruined King is just fantastic synergy for crazy attack damage and speed and the percentage stuff and all the on hit. Very, very good. We also have the active on it, which gives us the slow. Always good. Now, after I finish Devour, Boots, and Blade of the Ruined King, we have to transition our build into beef. We have plenty of damage now to dive in and kill people, which is always a good thing. Well, that's really cool red looking stuff. Which is always good to be able to dive into a target and kill them. Always want that. You always want to be able to dive in. But you do need survivability when you do dive in as well. So to do that, we transition the build into kind of a pseudo damage, pseudo tank. And it'll continue to focus on more and more tank as the game continues because we'll have enough damage to kill any of the squishies on the backline. I know some people like to go for the Omen right after they finish those first couple items. It's not a bad choice. I love the Omen. You guys know I recommend that all the time. But actually on Nocturne, with my movement, with my speed, with my kiting, with my slow, or not slow, but with my fear, and with my Dustbringer, I actually like to build the, wow, now the item's completely, the plate, which I don't know why I'm struggling with item names. I keep forgetting them. But you want the Dead Man's Plate. or chest, or whatever the hell it's called. I'm correct, whatever. Anyways, I like it because of the damage it can give you on those hits, and it does give you some defense with some, obviously, armor and health. Very, very strong stats to have. Another thing I do like is the Maw of Malmortius. I liked it previously to this season, but I like it even more this season. So the Maw is really fun to still have. I still love how it gives you that magic damage shield to absorb, and since I'm not getting Merc Treads quite as much, it is a good item to get with a little bit of magic resist. If you wanted to go more tanky, the Spirit Visage is actually really good because the lifesteal you have, you'll be getting it vamped up. So the Spirit Visage would be fantastic to pick up. If they had a really pokey composition, then a Banshee's Veil would definitely suffice. Now, if you do want to go more damage, there is an option that gives you, once again, pseudo damage with pseudo tank. It's more pseudo damage, though. It's the Black Cleaver. It's going to give you plenty of damage, and it's going to give you a lot of shred, which is always, it's always nice to have. But I love how the Black Cleaver is giving health compared to how it used to be. And the cooldown reduction is always good. That'll get you, ultimates will be on shorter cooldowns along with everything else. It's always a good item to pick up on anybody you want more health on and you want to have some more offensive stats. That 20% cooldown reduction is one of the huge things that always helps me justify purchasing it when I want some more CDR. It's a fantastic item for that point. But that pretty much does round out the items themselves. Other things you can consider would be Sterk's Gauge. It does give you health. It does give you that base attack damage and the unique passive, which can be very good. So if you wanted to team up one of those and you're going to go with the plate, you could definitely tag team them. You could go very damage, very backline diver. But if you're going to be building that much offense, one thing I would say is do this when you have a team composition that has other people coming with you and being able to get to the backline quick. Because if you're overextended in the backline while you're going for the assassination during the engagement, you will get focused out really quick. That's why changing your build depending on how bursty they are or how much engage you really have as a team is important to check out. You want to have enough survivability that you're a threat in the backline long enough. You can say, well, if I have lots of damage and I jump in and I can really hurt one of them, maybe I'm not guaranteed to kill them because I am so squishy. That's actually not that good for your team. Being able to stay alive is better than dealing more damage at that point, because if you're alive, that means you're a threat. That means you're creating more chaos for the enemy team to deal with, and that's in the long run better for your team because then they get into position. Your ADC starts to pick off important targets better. Your assassin or whoever else you may have, your mage, can also get better DPS out because you're causing more of a problem for their team. So you have to be mindful. Don't always just think if I build more damage, I can maybe annihilate one person out. Think about how it helps the whole team if you go pseudo damage like this build, and then you can do more with it. So at this point in the build, though, I was actually going to build an Omen because I needed just more armor and health because there's just so much attack damage in the game right now. Just stacking armor is very, very good at the moment until we start to see more AP champions come back in. But that's a pretty solid build and guide for Nocturne. I think he's really fun and he's very impactful right now. So if you're looking to play him, I highly suggest it. If you have questions, leave them down below in the comments, and I'll see all of you in the next build video.